Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we are almost approaching the end of the program today. So just get started. We'll be talking about climate transparency, which is one of the main pillar of Article 13 of Paris Agreement on the Enhanced Climate Transparency Framework. Implementing climate transparency is a strategic step in strengthening credible climate governance. Since 2022, the CBIT Indonesia has emphasized the importance of non-party stakeholders in shaping NDC. However, to date, NPS engagements still face challenges. First and foremost, allow me to welcome our keynote speaker. He's the Deputy of Climate Change and Carbon Economic Value Governance from the Ministry of Environment, Republic of Indonesia. Please join me in welcoming Bapak Ary Sudijanto.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good afternoon, distinguished guests, speakers, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you to the side event at the Indonesia Pavilion on engaging non-party stakeholders for implementation on climate transparency. It is an honor to have you with us today. This side event is intended to present updates on contribution of non-party stakeholders in implementing the enhanced transparency framework in Indonesia, including the challenges encountered and strategic opportunities for the future engagement. Distinguished guest participants, we are fully aware that climate transparency is one of the key pillars of the Paris Agreement, as mandated under the Article 13 of the Enhanced Transparency Framework. The framework underscores the importance and accurate, transparent, and accountable reporting and verification of mitigation, adaptation, and support received by developing countries. For Indonesia, implementing the ETF represents a strategic milestone toward achieving its NDC's targets and strengthening credible national climate governance at the international level. Indonesia has constantly emphasized the vital role of non-party stakeholders in supporting greenhouse gas inventory system, MRV processes, and NDC tracking. NPS, including local government, academia, the private sector, civil society organizations, youth groups, and local community play an essential role in generating data, implementing mitigation adaptation action, and raising public awareness. Their contribution to building bottom-up climate action holds great potential to advance both national and global climate goals. Furthermore, various global and national programs and regulation needs to be translated into contextualized and understandable format for grassroots and communities so that both party and non-party stakeholders can reinforce efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and enhance climate resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, in this regard, Indonesia has actively engaged non-party stakeholders at all levels, especially at the grassroots, to broaden and deepen their contribution. With support of the TF and UNDP through the CBIT projects, Indonesia has initiated a range of innovative outputs enabling NPS to contribute more effectively to national greenhouse gas emission reduction effort and climate resilient development. From 2022 up to 2035, various programs and activities has been implemented under the GEF-funded Capacity Building Initiative for Transparency, or GBIT. This includes initiatives by urban and rural communities on joint mitigation and adaptation action, network of civil society organizations forming a structured collaboration under the Climate Transparency Hub, and academic institution, university, and experts establishing the Center of Excellence. All of these initiatives will elaborate in detail by our speakers in this event. Distinguished participants, NPS engagement in Indonesia continues to face several challenges and requires further strengthening. Today's set event at the Indonesian Pavilion provides an important opportunity to gain valuable insight and inputs that can enhance the implementation of climate transparency. I look forward to hearing your perspective during our constructive discussion. I am confident that by joining this event, we are in the right place and at the right moment to learn from experiences related to the MPS engagement in Indonesia, as well as to enhance exchange knowledge and good practices that will advance climate transparency. Lastly, I wish you all a very productive and successful side event. I thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pak Ary, for the keynote and also framing the context of the NPS engagement in Indonesia. So, I think I apologize for the noise, despite it's raining cats and dogs, but we're still grateful. At least the temperature is cooling down, so we are more comfortable to sit and engage in the dialogue. So on this very last session of the day, we are convened to understanding the capacity of NPS for the implementation of the climate transparency framework, build the dialogue between party stakeholders and NPS to foster synergy in climate action for reporting and verification, identify challenges, needs, and opportunities for meaningful NPS participation or engagement, generate strategic recommendations and follow-up actions to strengthen the role of NPS and to ensure inclusive and sustainable climate transparency in Indonesia. To lead this session, allow me to welcome Director of Kertabumi Recycling Center, Iqbal Alexander.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mbak Mona. Welcome, everyone, to Indonesia Pavilion here in rainy Belém, Brazil. I'm Iqbal Alexander. I'll be moderating this session titled Engaging Non-Party Stakeholder for the Implementation of Climate Transparency.
Say that using the terminology prescription might not be the best with indigenous peoples using.
Okay. Building on what Mr. Deputy have said, that we all agree for highlighting Indonesian vision and the importance of bringing NPS closer to the transparency system. I agree that transparency is not just about reporting obligation, but a way to build trust, credibility, better decision making for our climate future. And moving on, I'm going to invite our amazing panelists bringing together perspective from government side, civil society, and also youth. And let me briefly introduce our panelists today. Number one is Ibu Mita Ratna Juwita, SPMA, Director of GSD Inventory, MMRV. Ibu Mita, please join me on the stage. Ibu Mita is leading Indonesian national system for complying emission data and tracking progress towards our climate targets. And second, Dr. Dina Nurul Fitria, member of board of National Energy Council of Indonesia, representing the consumer interest, bringing the energy governance and consumer perspective into the conversation. The third one, Mr. Roli Leatemia. Mr. Roli is the Director of Climate Transparency Hub, working closely with civil society, local actors to make climate data more accessible and accountable. And last but not least, our youth participant, Nala Amira. Welcome to the stage, Nala. Nala is the founder of Green Welfare Indonesia, representing youth and community-based initiatives that are translating climate ambition into grassroots action. So welcome to our four panelists. Could we give a round of applause for our four panelists? And with that, I would like to invite our first speaker, Ibu Mita, to deliver her presentation on how Indonesia entering a new phase of climate transparency. And from your perspective, what are the most important role of NPS can play in helping implementation of Indonesian climate goal? Ibu Mita, the floor is yours.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I hope that you all can hear my voice in a heavy rain. Okay. Okay. My session is how to about the capacity building initiative for the transparency or CBIT and the role of non-party stakeholder in climate action. As we all aware that the world is at a pivotal moment in confronting the challenge of climate change. Under the Paris Agreement, transparency stands as a fundamental pillar in building global trust and in assessing collective progress of mitigation, adaptation, and climate support. For this reason, Indonesia, along with other developing countries, is encouraged to strengthen its capacity to implement the enhanced transparency framework, particularly in preparation for the Biennial Transparency Report or BTR. Okay, next. How the CBIT implement in Indonesia is based on the policy about the role of non-party stakeholder. So as in Paris Agreement in Article 13, there is no explicit mention about the role of the non-party stakeholder. But in the decision adopted by the Conference of the Parties in COP21, Decision 1 CP21, governed in paragraph 15 or its preamble recognized the role of NPS. The contribution of NPS is embedded in the Paris Agreement, especially through the principle of no one left behind. So in presidential regulation, the new one, number 110 in this year, there is provide the legal framework for Indonesia's carbon economic mechanism. In Article 8.2 recognize the involvement of NPS in supporting mitigation action as well as greenhouse gases inventories. So the role of NPS in Indonesia is to support the party stakeholder in achieving NDC target through mitigation and adaptation. So in Indonesia, non-party stakeholders consists of local government. There are 38 provinces and 416 districts and 98 cities, and also the academia, CSO, private sector, and also the local communities. Next. And then the capacity building initiative for NPS is the effort to strengthen the capacity has been focused on mitigation and adaptation action. These efforts are aimed to set up a foundation for a stronger knowledge and skill of NPS. So why NPS? Because NPS also provides the greenhouse gases inventory data about to implement mitigation and adaptation action, and also could advocate for climate transparency. The involvement could be to strengthen the credibility, inclusivity, and sustainability of Indonesia climate transparency. And what has been done is to strengthen the capacity across 5 sectors. like energy, FOLU, agriculture, waste, and IPPU. And also to form the activity by training and focus group discussion involving also the university, CSO engagement, and local government. Over 11,000 participants trained in 5 regions, and also 50 universities integrated climate research for mitigation and adaptation, and also has already 25 CSOs engaged in this project. Next. And we've already established the COA and CTH. The COA is the Center of Excellence. There is a networking platform for knowledge, exchange knowledge, research collaboration, training, establish roster of experts, and supporting greenhouse gases inventory, and also mitigation and adaptation for biennial transparency report. And also the Climate Transparency Hub, or CTH, that will be explained by Rory. That is an inclusive platform for sharing knowledge and integrating CSO, academia, and local government for mitigation and adaptation action. And we face also the challenges. First, the navigating multiple decision maker. Maybe it's also the same in your country. If we engage more people, more institution, then we will face the complex decision-making process. And then balancing competing priorities, because the different priorities have the stakeholders. And then the third is overcoming resource limitation. There are limited times, funding, and also institutional capacity, hinder meaningful and sustained engagement. That's 3 of the challenges that we face in Indonesia. And then next, the way forward, the way forward to stakeholder engagement. Indonesia recognized the effective climate action depend on the meaningful engagement of all stakeholders. Strengthening stakeholder engagement requires a holistic approach that goes beyond formal participation to ensure inclusivity, trust, and collaboration. First, the stakeholder engagement as structural priority. We strengthen the mechanism to ensure the inclusivity, trust, and long-term collaboration beyond formal participation. And also effective stakeholder management. We develop clear roles, responsibilities, and communication channels to align competing priorities. And then enhance coordination mechanism. We establish an integrated framework to reduce fragmentation and maximize resource use. And also we build the long-term partnership. We create a resilient ecosystem and collaboration, knowledge sharing, and accountability among stakeholders. And then ensuring sustainability by linking national policies with bottom-up initiatives such as the COA and CTH. Next, thank you. I hope that Indonesia will continue to build a strong foundation, and CBIT, I think the CBIT initiative play a central role in addressing these needs, and it is more than a project. No, it's not only the project. It is a long-term investment in establishing a robust, accurate, and sustainable national climate transparency system. Through CBIT, Indonesia enhance institutional arrangement, strengthen technical capacity, improve the national greenhouse gas inventory system, and advances the integration of mitigation, adaptation, and support related data. I think that's all from me. Thank you. Obrigada.
Thank you, Ibu Mita. Before we move on to the next panelist, Ibu Mita, I have one question here. Since we have a lot of audience coming from NPS here in Indonesia Pavilion, I would like to ask Ibu Mita whether is there any mechanism or platform in Indonesia that can be used for NPS to submit their climate data or climate action to enhance Indonesia NDC?
Yeah, in Indonesia, we have the system to input the data, which name is ScienceSmart, and we enhance the system now to become more robust. So you in all stakeholder can input the data, even the government, local government, community, and so on. So we have one system that is the Science Smart Robust, and the CBIT also supported how the stakeholders can understand the system to make the collecting the data and so on. And I think this is also we use it for the reporting to the UNFCCC for the BTR. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Mita. And moving on, we're gonna discuss with Ibu Dina. Ibu Dina is a member of board of the National Energy of Council. Ibu Dina, can you tell us about how is the energy transition in Indonesia and how important is the energy sector to Indonesia to achieve its NDC?
Thanks, Mas Iqbal or Bro Iqbal. Good evening. Oh no, good afternoon to audiences in COP30 Pavilion Indonesia. I'm Dina Nurul Fitria. Regarding your questions, I would like to promote that Indonesia has been promoted the new regulations. We call it government regulations, article number 40 2025. We call it as national energy planning. So the NPS engagement should be rely on the collaborative actions between the regulations and also to the grassroots. Regarding the framework of energy transition, Indonesia has national energy planning to reduce the emission targeted up to 2060. And then, yes, of course, we have fossil fuel dominance right now, but we have strive to achieve that the target should be 2032. We can mix energy between the fossil fuels and between the fossil fuels and renewable energy ones. And the sectors also promote the nuclear power plant. We do hope so that Indonesia has the first nuclear power plant, maybe for the small modular reactor. It is the answer if Indonesia wants to fossil fuel phase down. So the answer is one of is nuclear power plant. The other is hydro and also the geothermal itself. So I think the grassroots, so-called the NPS engagement regarding this ambitious target should be maintained and should be make clear contribution. So National Energy Council has opened to discuss and also to make the policy system contributing, engaging the whole NPS mechanism. So I think Mas Iqbal, regarding this your questions, so it is collaborating issues, matters, and also the challenging is about the measurement, the NPS contribution, because when we're talking about the social side of the energy transition, we don't have any particular and and common communication platform about the measurement targeted the NPS contribution engagement. I think Ministry of Environment has the platform, as Dr. Mita said about the system. So I think the system is only the technically based. The social based still striving to engage to make the contribution indicators, key performance indicators should, yeah, I think so we can contribute more about how to measure the social engagement in energy transition. I think this one.
Thank you, Budina. And one last question from me. How can national energy policy be translated into real benefits for communities at the grassroots level? And how can youth and civil society organization be more involved in Indonesia energy transition agenda?
Okay, Iqbal. So the youth and also the inclusive one of the transition energy policy, National Energy Planning Indonesia has make the deliver real benefits. I think this one the more important one, such as like affordable clean energy, new jobs, and reduce energy poverty. Yes, Indonesia, I think similar to another developed countries, we are striving to survive about the green jobs. Green jobs means that renewable energy has to construct the new one job creation. Not only just classical ones, but also the green jobs. I visited the Nairobi Pavilion. They have a platform of green jobs. I think that is the good example to Indonesia. I think Minister of Environment should have more discussion or dialogue regarding the green jobs, because Gen Z is not waiting. The future is theirs. They own the futures. Also, the green jobs creation should be speed up, not only for the classical economic side, but also for the new growth platform and mechanism. This is the more important ones. And the other one is their involvement ensures the transition is participatory. So the National Energy Policy Planning, we have schemes and mechanism to make advocation and also to make communication freely regarding the youth and also Gen Z especially to contribute. I think this one is important. Thanks.
Thank you, Ibu Dina. Could we give round of applause for Ibu Dina? And our next panelist is Mr. Rolly. Mr. Rolly is the Director of Climate Transparency Hub, or CTH. CTH is a government-initiated association that work hand in hand with government and also civic societies, trying to accelerate Indonesian NDC. And I would like to give the floor to Mr. Rolly to explain about what the agenda of CTH and how can CTH embrace CSO at the same time government to help Indonesia achieve its NDC goals. Mr. Rolly, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mas Iqbal. Good afternoon, everyone. Allow me to present about the Climate Transparency Hub it's all about and how we are trying to accelerating Indonesia and this is implementation by strengthening civil society organization. But first of all, I would like again to introduce myself. I'm Rolly Letemia, Director of Climate Transparency Hub. So when we're talking about the climate, mitigation or climate adaptation in Indonesia, we're talking about our Indonesian indices. Our government already set up a higher standard. If we are using a business, our government using a business as usual or using our own resources, we are committed about around 31.90% to contribute in terms of reducing the climate agent. And using the international support, we are committed about 43.2%. This is a huge amount if we are trying to make it a detail. And this is bringing two consequences for civil society in Indonesia. That is the challenge and also the opportunity at the same time. Why it is the challenge? Because it is a significant portion that climate action, particularly mitigation and adaptation effort that leads by the civil society organization, especially from the grassroots level and at the subnational level, it is remain unquantified and also unreported. And this create a critical gaps, actually leaving valuable data out of the national greenhouse gas inventory and official report, thus presenting an incomplete pictures of Indonesian total climate efforts. But at the same time, actually this is an opportunity for us as a civil society because we see there is a clear need for a mechanism to systematically measure, report, and also verify or MRV this action and integrate them into a national framework. This will actually strengthen Indonesian reporting and accelerate the achievement of Indonesia NDCs. Next, please. So, based on the challenge and also the opportunity, as a civil society organization or a climate transparency hub, we see the urgency actually, the urgency, which is from the both sides, from the civil society side and also from the government side. From civil society side or from NPS, we need a recognition actually because in Indonesia, a lot of civil society from local level, from grassroots level, we have done so many action in terms of the climate mitigation and climate adaptation, but there is no channel for them to be recognized if they are already been done the climate mitigation and climate adaptation. So this is actually a time for us to making some contribution for the government at the to achieve their commitment in terms of Indonesian NDCs. But also at the same time from the government side, they are requires an integrated platform and access to the data and climate action, especially mitigation and adaptation undertaken by CSO that can be support and achieve the Indonesian NDCs. Next, please. So, how to collaborate? How as a civil society organization or as a climate transparency hub, we collaborate with the government. We have actually to identify clear objectives because without clear objectives, we cannot help our government to achieve our Indonesian NDCs. So we set up 4 objectives. The first one, we try to enhance our technical capacity, especially from the civil society organization, which is we strengthen the capabilities of the CSO in terms of greenhouse gas inventory, methodologies, data collection, and verification in line with IPCC. And also this include training on the National Registry System platform and other relevant tools. The second one, we are trying to integrate grassroots data by establish a standardized process for CSO to report their climate mitigation and adaptation action and facilitate the integration of the verified data into the National Registry System in coordination with the Ministry of Environment. The third one is actually we're trying to amplify and advocacy the impact of what have been done by the local civil society organization and also the local communities because, as I mentioned earlier, we have done a lot of action and some of them it's actually a good practice in terms of climate mitigation and climate adaptation. But the problem is there are no mechanism or the action that has been done, it not showing or amplifying to the others parties that can be sometimes adapted to be a lesson learned. So by doing that, we're trying to document and showcase successful CSO-led initiative to inform a national policy, identify local champions, and share best practice to international platform as well. And the fourth one, in terms of our objectives, it is we're trying to strengthen actually the multi-stakeholder collaboration, because we do believe without a proper collaboration, without a comprehensive collaboration from the whole non-party stakeholder, we cannot achieve and we cannot help our government to achieve the Indonesian national determined contribution. Please next. So our rules as a climate transparency hub, we are trying to be as a catalyst to ensure a seamless flow of climate action from CSO into the government, again, existing national registry system or SRN. It is actually a platform or mechanism also to register all the climate mitigation and climate adaptation action that has been done in Indonesia, especially from the civil society organizations. And of course, when we have to help our government, we do also need to define or design our strategic contribution that can be used and can be used to make our climate adaptation or climate mitigation action, it is achievable and measurable. We have three strategic contribution that we do believe by doing that, we can enhance our civil society to helping our government. The first one is we're trying to strengthen institutional framework for transparency in Indonesia, because we do believe if without a transparency, all the climate mitigation and climate adaptation action, it is nothing to do to help our government. The second one, it is enhancing civil society organization expertise and capacities so that they are at the same level to do the action in the maximum effort to help and try to contribute for the achievement of our Indonesian NDCs. And the third one is actually we're trying to amplifying the CSO action and feasibilities to also again help our government to achieve our Indonesian NDCs actually. So that is all from my side, Mr. Iqbal. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Lori. One question before we move on to the last panelist. And Pak Lori, I think many of CSO and also youth organization feel overwhelmed by the technical jargon or technical complexity when we try to do inventory or calculate carbon emission. So what kind of capacity building do you think is the best to help CSO and also youth organization to be able to do their own inventory and submit to the platform from the Ministry of Environment?
Thank you, Mr. Iqbal. I think it's very good question, and talking about the capacity building for the civil society organization. First of all, actually, we do believe in Indonesia, they are a minimum or such a standard or criteria that has to be met before they can do the climate mitigation action and adaptation to help our government. So we have to identify those kind of capacity building that actually need to help and develop our partner, our civil society organization. And after we have identified that, we're trying to give them the capacity building as they need. And once we have done with the capacity building, we train them, and of course, after that, they can do actually the climate mitigation and climate adaptation based on what the requirement that requires by the government to help them to achieve the Indonesian indices. Thank you.
Thank you, Paroli. And let's move on to our last panelist, Nala Amira, the founder of Green Welfare Indonesia, the youngest on the panelists, leading environmental action in Indonesia all the way to Brazil. And let's hear her story on how she started Green Welfare in Indonesia, and also how Green Welfare trying to educate younger generation to become climate educator and leaders. Nala, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much, Mas Iqbal. I, yeah, I think there's a presentation that I want to share while I introduce Green Welfare. Young people on the topic of climate data, climate transparency, and as well as involve them in the process of ensuring that climate data is credible as well as verified. So just to start a little bit, Green Welfare in Asia, essentially we are a youth NGO. We are based in Indonesia. We were founded in 2020, around 5 years ago when I was 15. And we focus on building environmental citizens. So we are focusing on the education and capacity building side of sustainability. We do a lot of programs collaborating with the ministry, collaborating with different multilateral institutions, and providing these education and climate capacity programs for young people from multidisciplinary perspectives as well as different subjects. So we don't only focus on one specific sustainability subject, but we do give trainings for young people, whether it's from green economy, from green policy, from energy transition, and even for gender and climate, and also really important topic that we also really try to talk about, as what Ms. Dina mentioned, is green skills and green jobs, because green jobs inherently will be filled by young people in the future. So why we focus on building environmental citizens is because we want to build young people who actually understand ecosystems, people who can read data, ask the right questions, and eventually contribute to Indonesia's climate knowledge base. I think one of the biggest problems is that many Indonesian students grow up without real interaction with ecosystems. I mean, how many of you have seen mangroves, for example? Young people who live in the urban cities, they don't really interact a lot with nature. They don't understand how the river works, the river systems. They don't understand the different type of ecosystems. And so if you don't understand exactly what you're dealing with, exactly what you are trying to protect, you aren't able to build these climate solutions. And so this is where we really start. We start by providing context and helping young people see what climate change actually affects, and prevent young people from jumping straight into projects and really understanding the scientific basics of the climate crisis. Maybe we go to the 4th slide. Yes. Yes, so this, so one of the gaps and problems that I mentioned earlier, yes, of course, there is the lack of climate education in curriculums in general, not only in Asia, but in a lot of developing countries. And so this is, again, why we really want to emphasize the importance of young people understanding the what in sustainability. And next is that also, we don't want young people to only execute projects. If you're someone who likes to learn about sustainability through more structured ways, maybe some of you really do enjoy learning at school, or some of you really like listening to your professors. And so we don't limit in we try to make our programs very diverse in how we implement them, so young people can learn about sustainability through different ways. But three of the programs that we have so far is, of course, first curriculum and formal learning. And so these are the more structured and guided mentorship. We also have the one that I just mentioned earlier, eco-entertainment and audiovisual storytelling. I know that Kertabumi did a documentary screening earlier, and that's really helpful, I think. When I was in high school, I learned sustainability through watching documentaries. If anyone here watched Cowspiracy, that was my first environmental documentary. And the last one is research and making knowledge products. So I think what's really important for me is, here I underline the word participatory, because I want young people to be active in researching about climate information. So not only receiving it, but being inquiry oriented. So asking the right question and always being curious is so important for young people, because when we are the one who deliberately tries to find the climate information and find the climate data, it sticks in our head more rather than if we're just receiving the information. It's much more useful if you're actually trying to find the data and understanding exactly what you're trying to learn from the data. Okay, next. Yes, this is a little bit about our programs. We have two types of curriculum, about two structured programs when it comes to climate education. The first one is for children in primary school. I think people always talk about how it's important to have climate education from young people, but it's very important to also understand that here young people also means from the very, very basic level, which is from primary school, because primary school is where you start to shape your attitudes. It's the place where you learn what is right, what is wrong, and it's where you initially, all you do in that stage is understand and learn information, and so you're not really biased. It's the right time for you to sort of put in the good types of nature and really educate these children on why sustainability, why nature is important to them, and that they're going to grow up with that mindset. And the second one is our mentorship program. This is very similar to what you would say a class in a university. It's a short course where we implement it usually for 2 months, but what is different for this one is that we usually collaborate with an institution. So we collaborated with BRIN, the National Research Government for Indonesia. We also collaborated with the Climate Reality Project in Indonesia. We also collaborated with UN Women in Indonesia for this year. And so what we do with these institutions is that we pair the young people with the mentors from these institutions, so they don't only receive information, but they also get to consult what is any of their questions, and also consult about things that are more intimate instead of only receiving that climate learning. Okay. And we also, in this mentorship program, we also pair them with real life projects at the end of their course. So they get to work with programs and final project outputs that actually contribute to something more realistic. Okay, next, please. Yes, so this is the other part of our climate education program where I talked about how we also create knowledge products. So this is a few of the climate books that we have created for the primary students. So the first two is a climate story book where we want young people, hopefully the ones who have this, this is what their bedtime stories are. And so we want that we don't limit our knowledge products only for the older young generations, but also for the younger generations. And the other three is actually a curriculum-based activity book that we collaborated with the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Education back then, where we created activity books for young people to actually use them in class. It's a really long module, so it takes around 6 months for one student to actually go through one book. And we also made it for different grades. So there's for grade 5, and I think there's also for grade 7 to grade 9 or middle school. Next. Yes, this is a little glimpse of our Greener School program. And next. Yes, and this is a little bit with our mentorship program. What's very interesting is that our mentorship program this year was with UN Women, and we did about gender and climate policy. And the final project output was we tasked the young people, the young mentees, to create policy briefs that eventually was submitted to the national delegation of COP30 Indonesia that was tasked for the gender negotiation tracks, where we gave them inputs on what should be Indonesia's stance for the new gender action plan that is now being negotiated at COP30. So we try to make all of our final projects not something that is just hypothetical, but something that is also inputting to something that's real life. Okay, next. And yeah, so this is 2 more additional products of us. The Voices of Nature is a collection of art submissions where we had over 90 submissions of young people advocating about climate and expressing climate through art. Because again, I think for me, it's very important that we talk about sustainability not through one format, but different formats. And just this year at Osaka Expo, we also launched our Green Skills report, where we interviewed 42 experts from 5 different sectors on what green skills young people really need in the future green jobs market. And it's really interesting because data is actually one of the top skills that you need for green skills, especially now with AI as well. So I think that's a little introduction on green welfare and also why education is really important for climate data.
Thank you, Nala. Could you give a round of applause for our 4 panelists? I would like now to give the floor to the audience. But before that, I would like to reintroduce again our panelists from left to right. From left, we have Ibu Mita, the Director of GSG Inventory, MRV of Ministry of Environment. Next to Bu Mita is Ibu Dina, the Member of Board, National Energy Council. Next to Bu Mita is Paroli, the Director of Climate Transparency Hub. And here next to me is Nala, the founder of Green Welfare Indonesia. So I would like to give the floor to the audience. If you have any question for our panelists, just raise your hands. Do we have anyone here? Okay, we have one lady over here. Can you tell me your name, where you're from, and your organization?
Hello, can you hear? Okay, I'm Mariana, I'm from Belém, and I wanted to ask Nala if you have any projects to open your project to other countries. And if you have that idea, and if you want to expand to other countries, and so. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. What a great question. Green welfare right now, we are very grassroots. We focus on Indonesia because Indonesia is such a huge country. Even right now, we're having the problem of how to make our movement more inclusive, not only in Jakarta, because I'm in Jakarta, but also how to spread it across Indonesia. And so, absolutely, I mean, I'm going to contact you if you want to have a green welfare bellum one day. But yeah, I think our programs, we're very open if other young people wants to replicate it in other parts of the world, because I think we also are really open to how to make our programs more contextual. Maybe what works in green welfare in Asia doesn't work in Brazil as well, or in any other country. Because in Indonesia, let's say our educational literacy might be different from a low developing country, and it might obviously be different from a high developing country. So I think it's very important that climate movements like ours, we work with different international collaborators in making it replicable.
Thank you, Nala, and thank you for the potential collaboration from Indonesia to Brazil. And I would like to invite another question from our audience here. We have anyone? Okay, we have one gentleman over here.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Maxensius Trisambodo from National Research and Innovation Agency. Very interesting to see how actually the engagements of all the non-party stakeholders need to do collaborations. And based on your experience, actually, what are the barriers maybe to Ibu Mita and then Ibu Dina and then Paroli? What is the major barrier that may hampers in doing collaborations among the non-parties? And then if we take some lesson learned from other countries, especially what lesson learned we can bring to solve, to unlock the potential barrier? That's my question. Thank you. Yeah.
Ibu Mita, I would like you to answer first.
Can you hear me? Oh yeah. Yes, I think coordination and communication is very, very important because, you know, Indonesia is very large and the capacity building in every region is very, very different. So we need CSOs in everywhere to help us to communicate with the communities, to the universities, and to the youth like Nala. And we have built the CTH like Rory. We coordinating all of the stakeholder like government, local government, university, local community, and so on. And we have a pilot project to do that and how to then develop the model, and then we try to replicate it to the other region. I think it's quite work for have the coordinating and the communication among the stakeholders. Because if we don't involve all of the stakeholders, there is nothing that we can do. We cannot work alone, you know. We cannot work only the government, the local government, or only the researcher. We have to collaborate like a pentahelix, the government and other stakeholders. So I think we try to develop the model, and then the next year we will replicate it to the other region, and also to strengthen the CTH, the Climate Transparency Hub, to also as a hub for the stakeholder involved in the climate transparency. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Bumita, and maybe Budina, you could also add up on what is the biggest challenge in working together with government and also with communities.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Max, for the question. There are key factors that should be, yeah, we are not call it this is a handicap, but this is more potential to grow. The first one is limited technical capacity among non-party stakeholders. Yes, we thank to Mr. Rolly, we thank to Mr. Iqbal. They have CSO with the capacity building excellent, but the rest is not. NPS capacity building is still limited knowledge about the transition energy, still limited knowledge about the technology side and the others. So this is the one. This is the first. And the second one is fragmented data systems. Yes, with thanks to Minister of Environment that built the such as of platform to collaborate the NPS throughout Indonesia based on real-time data, I think. And the third one is weak party stakeholders and non-party stakeholders collaborations. I think this is not only Indonesia, this is common language, common problem to the rest of the world about the PS, non-PS coordination. And the rest, the more important thing is socioeconomic risk in fossil fuel phase down initiatives. Because there are so many negative perception about renewable energy and also about the government strive to make the ambitious targets about the national energy transition. And regarding your challenge, which one countries for the best lesson learned? I think in my perspective, we can learn Brazil. Why? Because Brazil has many various CSO. We're talking about child, youth, and any kind of Getsy platform. Brazil, I think, have coordinated more, we call it engagement more coordinated, and also government side is very supporting for the CSO involvement. I think Brazil is the one. Thanks.
Thank you, Ibu Dina. And Pak Roli, can you also give your opinion on what is the biggest challenge from the CSO side to collaborate with the government?
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Mas Iqbal. I think there are some actually barrier or challenge from the civil society perspective. First of all, we see a challenge from the communication aspect. I think this is very, very, very crucial for us because sometimes from a civil society perspective, we eager to communicate to the government on how we have been done at the grassroots level. But sometimes because of the mechanism that has been set up by the government to follow certain rules, for example, and then it leads or it tends to become like a more problematic ways to engage with the government. So we do believe and we hope if our government can open their space and trying to, like for example, make a quite simple in terms of the mechanism in terms of the communication with between the government and the civil society, it will more help us to contribute in doing the climate mitigation and climate adaptation to help our government. The other one, I think, when we're talking about the civil society perspective, doing the climate mitigation and climate adaptation action at the grassroots level, we cannot work without financial aspect. That is also a big challenge for us because you cannot work without financial aid. Once, even you have an ideal or an ambitious plan or program to implement the climate mitigation and climate adaptation, but without the financial aspect, you cannot do that. And from civil society perspective, especially from the subnational level, to trying to get supported to implement their plan, their program, it is sometimes quite difficult in Indonesia. So that is also another challenges that we have seen from our perspective. The other one, I think, this is more related with trust and recognition. And that is especially related with the data inventory. Because the things is, we have done, as a civil society organization, we have done a climate mitigation and climate adaptation at the grassroots level. The question is, if we trying to help the government, for example, we're trying to send our report it is really related with the data that we have done, and how our government trying to, ensure if our data is not being used for other things. So if the data that we have done, especially for the climate mitigation and adaptation, it has been doing properly for the issues of achieving the Indonesian NDCs, it is very welcome. But if it has been using for others things, that become a big questioning for us. We have done this, and maybe for the future, for example, if our government, for example, requires us to give our data for them, I think we will questioning again, is it the data that we have sent to you can be used properly, or will use with others things? So that is very crucial for us. And talking about like bringing lesson learned from other country, for example, we must thinking, or we must see if there is like quite similar from others country that we trying to adapt, because without a common similarities they have been done in their field, we cannot adapt it, because Indonesia is also a big country, a huge archipelago, consists of more than 70,500 islands. We have a lot of differences, but at the same time, we are also a lot of potential that can be used, and it's supposed to be can be as an asset or capital for us. So we have to look at carefully from other countries' lesson learned, and then we can try to adopt that. Thank you.
Thank you, Paroli. I would like also to invite another question from the audience here. Do we still have any question from the audience? From this side, we haven't seen anyone raising their hand. Okay. Lady over here.
Hi, my name is Nadia Haddad from Madani Berkelanjutan. Thank you so much for the interesting presentations. I have been working with CTH at some level, so more or less we know, and I understand the importance of capacity building and the acknowledgement of non-party stakeholders within this arena. But it's not just about data, it's not just about numbers, what we're talking here, because the impact of climate change is like massive throughout Indonesia. Everybody has experienced the impact, and especially we need more adaptation actions that it's not, there's not so much money going into that, so not so much action. So maybe my question is, how is that, well, if all of the actions or the data that has been accumulated or noted by CTH and through the national registry system, is that also include for adaptation actions, or it's just mitigation actions? And if not, then what kind of how can you measure that as an adaptation action? That is what my first questions. And another one, it's not just about measuring measuring the mitigation action, what kind, and then submitting the data into the national registry system. But it's more than that, and to ensure that all of the Indonesian society knows the what are the experiences, knows about this climate change, and like more or less, that's why I put great admiration to your work, Nala. It's good. So that kind of thing we need much more throughout Indonesia. It's not an easy work. Um, so is that also the kind of thing that maybe CTH is also supporting? Not, it doesn't need to go to the SRN, but it's I don't know, trainings, capacity building without going through the national register system, simply to build the capacity and knowledge for the people. And in relation to that, sorry, there's so much question. In relation to that, with Nala, how are you? Does that kind of work also being supported by CTH, or maybe you can, maybe you can answer that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Nadia. I think I would like to give the floor to Bumita first on data confidentiality, and also talking about climate transparency is not only about numbers, Bumita, but also we're talking about culture, about community, and how national platform can capture that ideas.
Yeah, adaptation action is also should be put into the national registry system in SRN, because the SRN is for the not only mitigation but also adaptation action. So yes, it will be input in the SRN system. And what next? After you put the data of the adaptation, yes, that's not only the number. You know, the action that should be done. You know, we have the indeks kerentanan tuh apa ya? Fragile index.
Vulnerability index.
Vulnerability index. Yes, in Indonesia there is a SIDIC, the system for the vulnerability index. So we could know which area that will be vulnerable and which one is not. So we have a program for that. Proclaim, you know, the how to manage the community to be more ready for the climate impact. You know, I think we should have more program for the adaptation, like Proclaim in every region that have high vulnerable for the adaptation impact, like in small island, you know, because that ones who will be more got the impact for that. But yes, we still have a struggle for that, for the adaptation. The adaptation action is less than the mitigation action. But we in island countries, we have, yeah, I think we can use like CTH and then CSO and also the youth to educate the community, to involve the community how to be ready for the climate impact, because that's the more important, you know. Maybe that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bumita, and I would like also to invite Paroli to explain to us how CTH, or Climate Transparency Hub, bridge between the government platform to what the CSO has been doing on the ground.
Okay. Thank you, Mas Iqbal. Actually, from Climate Transparency Hub, we do see the challenge actually, because a lot of civil society organization, they have been working at the grassroots level, not at the national level. So when they are trying to understand and trying to measures in terms of the mechanisms, if they want to put or they want to fill their data to the national registry mechanism or national registry systems, it is actually become very difficult because they have no enough capacity for that, and because under our national registry system that I have explained a while ago, it is actually very robust, very systematic, and very rigid. And at the local level, the civil society organization, they are more in practice level. So if you ask them to do something like that, once it's become boring for them, but if they are also have their capacity, they think it is useless for them if they will follow and become more complex for them and become boring or chaotic, something like that. And we need from the civil society, especially from the Climate Transparency Hub, we have to break down actually the policy to become a guidance, practice guidance, so that we can train our partner, our civil society organization from the grassroots level, so they know actually, oh, this is, we need blah, 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 something like that, and we can put or we can fill up the form from under the national registry systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Baroli. And last question is for our younger generation, Nala. I think Mbak Nadia was asking about what does it take for you to operate Green Welfare Indonesia, and how do you see collaboration between your organization with government, also other CSO, in expanding the impact of your organization?
Yes, thank you so much, Mas Iqbal and Ibu Nadia. So I think that's a really important question, and the thing about young people and data is that we find it boring. It's not even young people, but I think a lot of adults in general, a lot of people in general see data or something that's very technical and scientific to be something boring. And so I think this is where the intergenerational and intersectoral collaboration really comes in. We really need to make programs where young people understand why and how the data is important for climate work. I think for me personally, I used to find the importance of data to be something not very personal to me. But once I understand, first is how it's being collected, why it's being reported, and how it's used for decision making, I understand its importance, and then I try to learn more about what kind of data is needed. And so that also brings to my next point. I think how the government and the Climate Transparency Hub can work with young people is, of course, to give that mentorship and to also communicate and give young people exactly what data is needed that is feasible by young people. So for example, if the CTH needs specific data that young people is much more capable of collecting, for example, or data that young people in certain remote areas or certain regions have much more access compared to, let's say, the CTH itself in the headquarters. So we need to be able to train them exactly what data is being needed and what that data is being used for. So understanding what your work will have impact towards too, as well as also, of course, giving the upskilling. I think the capacity building is the first and foremost, is to really make them understand what the process is like and what the data is being used for. And also to really show them that in terms of data collection, especially as young people, trial and error is central. I think we don't emphasize it enough that we learn how to find the most perfect data through different testing methods over and over again until we find the most accurate way of doing things and learning from the past mistakes, and also understanding how to refine that data collection method. So I think also in the future, we'd like to definitely collaborate with the CTH and the Ministry of Environment of really giving these young people the why in data is important and also the how, and also make them included in the process, and maybe it's even through internship programs, through research programs. So it doesn't need to necessarily include NGOs in the process, but also young people in general, because in the future, we are going to be the future data collectors to make this data system much more credible and much more accurate. So we do need very sharp and data cultured young people, tech savvy as well in the future.
Thank you so much, Nala. And with that, I would like to close up today's session. Thank you so much, everyone, for the active participation, and thank you for all the 4 panelists. I would like to reiterate 2 takeaways from this session. First, transparency is a shared responsibility. So government itself cannot implement transparency. It requires participation from non-party stakeholders. And second one, we need to invest in capacity building and coordination in order to produce national climate data more accurate and more transparent and also more credible. So thank you so much for all the panelists. I would like to ask all the panelists to stand up in the front of the stage to take a picture. And we'd like also provide souvenir for all the audience. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good time at COP30 in Belém. Thank you.